this mean? What is all this scandal?
Master, there are children playing outside because of the school vacations have already started.
I know they are chaotic children, Igor. What I want to know is why the hell I am able to hear them.
Master, our castle causes a lot of curiosity and excitement, and the children like spooks. So I thought I could organize a tour of the castle so that simple mortals and their spawns could see the property.
Let mortals enter my castle? What will we do something like that, my imbecilic friend? I will never allow it.
But Master, I have sold tickets and lanes enough to pay your expenses for the next 2 months.
2 months? Quick, Igor. Bring my gala suit and a hairbrush. I must look presentable. Our beloved guests are about to enter. Maybe we could let them witness the recording of the show and thus get extra funds.
It's an excellent idea. Master, I'm going to dust off your suit. And I'm also going to dress up a bit for our guest.
But my dear hunchback, Lucky, you cannot be fixed.
Oh, you're a bit miserable, Master.
Yes, the truth is that I am. Good evening, my friends, and welcome to the Loop of Horror. I'm Count Dracula. Tonight, we will present an interesting top of 5 creepy stories about kids. Enjoy your macabre and filthy ravings while I finalize customizing Igor as a despicable clown. I hope he looks less disgusting and scary to our little visitors.
Before we begin, we remind you that we upload new and monstrous videos every week. Subscribe and activate the bell so you can get caught by our loop of horror.
One of my daughter's friends turned 5 years old, and her family prepared a birthday party for her, to which my 4-year-old daughter was invited. We attended the celebration, and my daughter played, ran, and had fun throughout the party. Suddenly, she disappeared from the party, and we couldn't find her anywhere, and my wife and I started looking for her like crazy. We found her standing next to a well that was on the property, as it was a very old neighborhood. We called her several times, and she did not turn to see us. It was as if she was in a trance. I finally hugged and pulled her out of the well. When we got back, my daughter was tired, so I put her to bed. I went downstairs to see what was left of the football game, while my wife finished doing the laundry.
Boom! That's amazing! He's on fire!
The voice of the game commentator began to lull me to sleep. My eyes began to droop from exhaustion, and I lost consciousness.
Daddy.
Between asleep and awake, I began to hear the sweet voice of my daughter calling me, while she tugged on my shirt slightly.
Daddy.
What's happening, sweetie?
Do you know how many years I will be next week?
I don't know. How many?
500.
I opened my eyes wide and turned to see my daughter quick, who was staring at me with a macabre smile. What did you say?
I said 5, Daddy.
She answered me with a sweet and innocent voice. To this date, I don't know if I misheard, if that voice was because I was half asleep, or if there was really something dark and sinister lurking inside of my daughter.
Since I was a little girl, I was always afraid of the dark. I was convinced that someone was there, watching me. I had trouble sleeping, night terrors, panic attacks, and anxiety. As soon as it was time to sleep, my torture began. Once, I was lying in bed trying to sleep when I saw a shadow on my window. I tried to listen to my mom and tried to think that it was probably just a weird shadow cast by the trees outside. I tried to convince myself of it while I was trying to snap out of my anxiety attack. When I finally began to calm down, I could see how the shadow outside took the shape of something humanoid. It was impossible for someone to be outside because my room was on the second floor. My breathing began to quicken as soon as I saw the shadow begin to cross the glass of the window that was closed, as if it were filtering inside. I couldn't take it anymore, and I got up from my bed, ran to my parents' room crying, and told them what was happening. My mother could no longer handle the situation, and she took me to a child psychologist. I spent several years in therapy until I was finally able to master my fears and sleep at night. 20 years later, I came to visit my brother's house. His 7-year-old daughter was in the dining room, sitting at the table, drawing. My brother told me that she was having trouble sleeping, that he listened to her talk at night, and she said that someone was there watching her. I immediately knew what was happening and tried to have a chat to help her. Okay, listen to me. When you feel very afraid, breathe deeply 5, 10, 15 times, as many as necessary. And while you do it, try to count numbers as far as you know. Concentrate on...
I'm not afraid, Auntie.
So, then why you cannot sleep?
Well, my friend likes to talk a lot.
Your friend? My niece showed me one of her peculiar drawings of something that looked humanoid, but with arms like a tree branch. I immediately remembered that terrifying night and began to feel chills and a hollow feeling in my stomach. Without saying anything, I kept staring at the drawing while I tried to control a panic attack that was already showing.
He left you a message, Auntie. He wants me to tell you I'm waiting for you.
My nephew was near 4 years old when my older brother asked me to take care of him because he and his wife had to go out to do some errands. I've never been someone who likes children, as I don't tolerate them very well, but I figured it wouldn't be that difficult. After all, how difficult could it be to handle one measly child? I arrived at his house, My brother gave me a couple of instructions, and on their way they left. I made something to eat for my nephew and me, and then we were done. I put him on the couch in front of the TV so he could entertain himself while I do the dishes.
Oh, spiders! Spiders! Get them off me! Get them off me! Get them off me!
Look, Josh, a man.
My nephew have always called me by my first name. Without turning around or stopping washing the dishes, I asked him, "What happened?"
Look, Josh, a man. Josh, look.
On television?
Josh, look. Josh, Josh.
He kept insisting until he made me impatient. I stopped what I was doing and turned to watch the TV to see what was he talking about. It was a great impression when I realized that my nephew was not on the couch looking at the television, but was at the foot of the stairs that led to the second level of the house, pointing up while saying that there was a man, but I knew no one was home.
The man, Josh, he laughing.
I felt terrible chills, ran to my nephew, took him in my arms, and ran out to the street without taking my belongings or anything else, heading to my mother's house to wait for my brother there.
I started working at a motel at night watching security cameras. My boss was also the owner of the property and lived in one of the motel rooms with his 7-year-old son, Dimitri. From the first day, something strange was in the air at the motel, something that really gave me chills. But I didn't quit because I needed the job. Also, my boss was very nice and helpful to me, and Dimitri was very sweet. He loved to hug me and play with me, so I thought there was no problem about that. At night, I began to notice through the security cameras that something was moving quickly, so fast that I didn't have time to distinguish what it was. It looked like a shadow that wandered in the corridors, and that filled me with terror. At first, it happened once in a while, but then it started happening almost every day. One night, I had to leave the security room and go throw out some boxes that my boss asked me to throw outside in the container that was in the parking lot. When I was inside the dumpster area, I started to hear a strange sound coming from behind the dumpster, something like a childish, guttural voice making a crackling sound. Something very weird and creepy. I started to take a few steps back to get out of the area where the dumpster was. But someone closed the door on me. I heard how they put the bolt. I got scared and desperate. I started hitting the door, screaming and asking for help, while I kept hearing that lurid sound getting closer and closer to me. When I finally started to cry, the lock came off. I quickly opened the door and caught a glimpse of a child's silhouette in the distance, quickly entering through the back door of the motel. Nothing got out of my head that it had been Dimitri who closed the door on me. What I couldn't explain was the eerie sound in the container. In the morning, before I left, I saw Dimitri in the breakfast room, and I asked him if he was up the last night and if he had closed the door of the container on me. Dimitri just looked at me, all serious, for a moment, and then continued to eat his cereal. I was willing to prove that it was Dimitri who was walking the halls at night making jokes. So when I came back at night for my shift, I started looking through the cameras for Dimitri, but I couldn't find him. I was willing to watch him all night if necessary. After searching for a couple of hours, I finally found him, but I was horrified to see that he was right in front of the exit door of the security camera room where I was. I got really scared, but even so, I watched him for a while. He was leaning against the door, as if he wanted to hear what I was doing. Suddenly, he quickly turned to the security camera and stared at it. It was as if he was looking at me directly. I could see through the screen his empty gaze penetrating me. I was terrified, but still I couldn't stop looking at him. Suddenly, the boy began to gesticulate, but it was as if someone invisible was moving his face. He began to fill with wrinkles and dark spots as if he were an old man. He smiled without taking his eyes off of me, parted his lips, and began to make the same sound that I heard behind the container as he began to slowly walk towards the security camera. I was petrified. My stomach clenched. I shuddered, and my eyes filled with tears from shock. And, blinking from tears, in that microsecond, Dimitri was gone from the camera. How was it possible? That same morning, I left my resignation letter at the front desk of the motel and never returned to that place, not even to pick up my last paycheck.
My daughter has always been different. She makes odd pauses. She silently stares at you when you call her attention, and at times, she can be manipulative and very mischievous. But she is also charming, playful, and very social. She sometimes does creepy things. One of the most notable occurred some time ago when she was almost 4 years old. I got home from work and it was late. The house was dark and I assumed everyone was asleep. I stayed in the living room for a while, but I didn't turn on the lights so as not to wake anyone up. Instead, I turned on the computer and put my headphones to play online for a while. Suddenly, I got scared when I felt a presence, and with my peripheral vision, I saw a silhouette on my right side. I turned around, and it was my daughter standing right there with her back to me. As she stared down the dark hallway, I felt chills. I took off my headphones and asked, "Honey, what are you doing there?" But she didn't answer me, nor did she turn to see me. I walked towards her and stood next to her. "What are you looking at, sweetie?" She turned to me very slowly, slightly smiled, and put her finger on her lips as a sign of silence. She then ran into the hallway, where it was darker, and entered her room. To this day, I had never felt so many chills.
If something like this happened to you, do not hesitate to send us your experience to our email, The Loop of Horror, with the subject, My Horrific Experience, and we will unsufferably show it on our channel. Like this video to prevent the night beast from bothering you and visiting you. And subscribe and activate the bell for creepier and twisted content brought from the bowels of the beyond. Do not hesitate and let yourself be caught by your loop of horror.
Last but not least, in every eyes, the most innocent, harmless, and pure beings are children. And for this reason, they are easy prey for vermin from the other world. Start to worry if they are not afraid of the dark.